Good morning, good morning, good morning. Dzień dobry, ciao, ni hao. How are you doing today? This is Ken at 10. If you haven't been here before, where have you been? Thanks for coming. And if you have been here before, why aren't you liking and sharing all these? Always like and share, please. We're always grateful. Thank you very much. Now on to business. My name's Ken Hume. We are James Alexander. We broadcast daily at 10 o'clock. Because I'm Ken, it's Ken at 10. That's simple, really. How are you today? We talk about all things property, but also generally the market, the weather, anything else, really. And yeah, last night, wasn't it hot? Too hot. You know, just so hot. I'm not sure many people got much sleep last night. So I'm sure there are plenty of people that are a little bit snappy and grumpy today. Not us, of course, because we're beyond all that. Not. Few things. The recession I noticed on the news, everyone's talking about how the recession hit hard over lockdown. I mean, it's not surprising, is it? I mean, they had an economist on and I thought, well, yeah, we've been shut down. Of course, the recession hit hard when we were shut down. You know, it's just is what it is, isn't it? So I'm, looking at the numbers, it seems that, we've had less deaths than we have previously. Those numbers are going down for coronavirus. The R numbers staying steady so far. So it's looking pretty good as far as that's concerned. I'm quite delighted with that. Other things, we're hotter than Cairo today, by the way, here in SW16. Hotter than Cairo. It does look very hot. Understand they've had some fantastic thunderstorms with lightning and things up in Scotland. I love a thunderstorm, don't you? Just fascinated by those lightning strikes and the thunder rolls. Just love them. And I think we could all do with that right now. You know, that kind of, oh, yes, at last, it's going to cool down a little bit feeling. Other things, Homes Under the Hammer. We got a call yesterday from Homes Under the Hammer. They're back. So we're doing some new episodes. We're doing 2 shoots in the next week, and that's good news. Interesting, they've changed their format because of coronavirus as well. You will no longer see 2 agents walking down. They're only choosing 1. And that's good for us because they've chosen us again. So thank you very much to Lion TV Productions for letting us have the opportunity of doing some of the work right here in Southwest London. We've got one coming up in Tooting, another one in Thornton Heath. But of course, when we actually film and when we broadcast are completely different times. But always love to do that. And it's always lovely to receive the text and the emails and the calls from people saying, I just saw you on BBC. So I'm really looking forward to working. And also, you get to know the crews, the people. Love Stacey. She's one of the producers and we do a lot of filming with her. And she's just great, a real pro. And we've got it down to a real fine art now of how long it takes us to get through the whole process of the presentation, the walkthrough. And literally we can have it all nailed now in a very short space of time. And we're going to do 2 in one go this week. Now, what else is going on? Landlords. I wanted to talk a little about landlords because I had a call yesterday and it occurred to me that it's something I haven't really spoken much about recently. And they were saying, how's it going? We're thinking of renting out our property. How's it been? What's happened over the coronavirus period? Regular viewers will know that we've had some conversations before. It's been really hard for tenants and landlords, of course. And the first thing we did was sent out a very sympathetic letter to all our tenants saying, how can we help? How can we support you? Here are some links to various support services, the government support on offer, that kind of thing. And then from there, we had individual discussions with our tenants. When we first started those discussions, a lot of people were saying, I can't pay my rent, I'm furloughed. And we had further discussion with them and did really try and focus them on surely what's important. If you are furloughed and you're on 80% of your salary, then surely where you live, the place you live, should take priority in terms of your finances. And actually, for a lot of people, that extra 20%, if you can't eat out, and let's face it, you can't go out and you couldn't, and you're not having to commute and you're not having to buy lunches, probably 80% of salary is pretty much the same as full salary for many people, not for all, I accept. But you should at least try and make a contribution towards your rent of 80%, if not 100%, if you can, because it will save that build-up of arrears later. And they're the conversations we've been having. And I have to say that from an initial standpoint of, I can't pay my rent, I'm furloughed, the vast, vast majority, in fact, I'd say as many as 98%, we worked out the other day, of our tenants have paid in full. So it's been really, really great. And thank you to all those tenants that have been so supportive of our landlords and our landlords as well, that for the others, where necessary, there have been a few where landlords have had a bit of understanding and a bit of patience with the rent coming through, which is great to see. Where does that leave us now when you're looking at new tenants? Well, if they're relying on income from work and they're furloughed, you need to double check that their work is going to continue outside of furlough. That's about referencing, isn't it? And difficult time for that, I think, when we're in the middle of furlough. I personally think we're in for a lot more redundancies than people expect. For that reason, you need to be really careful on referencing. I think a lot of people as well that work from home and can work from home are going to be the winners out of this, and there are going to be losers and winners, and you know that's certainly what we're seeing in the rental market. But surprisingly good, I have to say. You know, it's been very, very resilient, more resilient than most markets, I would say, in the way that tenants have proved reliable. But don't get me wrong, we're really, really careful about tenant selection. In fact, we got a complaint today on Google from someone, and they were saying that you know, they weren't happy with the response. Well, you know, if your references don't go through in the way that we want them to go through, i.e. they don't come out well, then I'm afraid we're going to reject you, and that's going to result in negativity from some. Difficult for us to get that across in a reply to a review, but very frustrating nonetheless. And we understand the frustration for people, but look, when it comes to our landlords, we will not compromise on those references. We want them to be 100% right, and if they're not, then you probably won't be moving in with us. And that's why we always ask lots of questions when tenants are moving in. And we're going to, you know, when we say to you, do you have bad credit? And you say, no, I don't. And then bad credit appears on your file, you're not going to be moving in. So there's no point in saying that in the first place. Better to say, look, I've got bad credit. We can shake hands, walk away, no transaction done, but at least we all know where we stand. Because at the end of the day, one of the reasons we have such a low rate of default is that we're so careful with our tenant selection. And invariably, that's going to upset some people, but it delights our landlords, obviously, because they know that if you get a tenant through us, they're going to be of the highest quality. I'm not saying we never get it wrong. We do. I'm just saying there's less likelihood of getting it wrong where you're really, really careful with tenant selection. And we certainly are that. And that's not about a certain type or style of tenant. It's just about making sure that people are who they say they are. And, you know, there's affordability there in terms of the rent that's being asked. The other thing is Grenfell red tape. There's a lot of flats apparently around now which are proving unsaleable. And we're finding this as well. There is one particular block where, because of the new fire checks to make sure that there's no flammable cladding, what we're finding is some of these checks are finding cladding that needs replacing. And there's a couple of blocks specifically right here in SW16 that have been massively affected by it, one of which is now at the end of that process, and it's cost many, many thousands per leaseholder to get it fixed. And even now they're not sure of the final bill, and the scaffolding's still up. So it's been really tough and very hard for those people to sell. So it's put a lot of sales on hold. We have another building where, another beautiful building where we didn't suspect there was any cladding issues, and it turns out there are. And so we've advised those people to rent out those properties where they were going to sell and then review it once the whole fire safety issue is dealt with. But it takes a long time. They need to serve notices, obtain quotations, and then distribute the costs throughout the leaseholders, try and claim back those costs from the government, and then reimburse those individual leaseholders if they can claim it back. And this grey area is what makes it so hard for tenants, for buyers rather, to go and buy those properties, because there's no definite figure at the initial stages. It's not until everything's nailed down and you know exactly what's going on and what the costs are that you can move forward. And no lender is going to lend without knowing exactly what those circumstances are. So that has held a lot of sales back. But I have to say, hey, this is about fire safety, right? You know, if it holds back a few sales and saves lives, how can you argue that? Look at Grenfell, you know? So for me, I don't really have a problem with it, but it is a reality of our time, and it has been a frustration. But in the end, fire safety has to come top in this day and age. As far as other things are concerned, we've got quite a busy day ahead, actually. Just about to have a big meeting, and then on from that, a few bits and pieces. Got an interview on the phone for Homes Under the Hammer. We always do a pre-video interview where they get to know about the area that we're looking at, what we think of it, what its benefits are, the pros and cons, and the likely price of the property we're looking at, festivals, occasions, things that happen in the specific areas that we're going to. So always enjoy that. That'd be nice. And then a few more valuations and inspections later on, and all in this heat. So I hope you have a fantastic day. I hope that's been helpful to you if you are a landlord. And we'll be back same time tomorrow for another Ken at 10. Have a fantastic day. Don't forget to like and share.